Welcome to our Weather Impact Report, where we take a look at the top weather stories here in Georgia and around the nation. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss. This week will be a little bit different. We're looking back at the top weather stories from around the nation and across the state that happened in 2025, how they unfolded and what they meant for the communities who lived through them. Let's start with January. Unlike this year, we started the last year off facing our very first snowfall right here in Metro Atlanta. The second week of January brought us a winter wonderland of sorts, one that caused the usual disruptions around the South.
Georgia's first snow in 7 years made a big mess, slowing down traffic on the roads and in the air.
It's been a whole entire week. I've been trying to get home. All the flights are delayed.
Travelers like Shanitra Foxworth and Percy Walker felt time dragging on.
About a day and a half.
Look at this. Lines at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport Saturday morning. Nearly 900 flights were canceled and over 350 others delayed.
We spent 4 hours yesterday at the airport in Destin trying to get out. We're supposed to fly to Atlanta, snowstorm, then we're supposed to fly to LA, which is going to be more smoke and more fires.
For some, it's been a lot of waiting around. Foxworth scrolled through her phone trying to pass the time, and then she saw something that made her terrified to take off. A video of passengers quickly sliding out of a Delta plane Friday after an engine blew out.
Flying Spirit. Hopefully I don't become a Spirit.
For others, it's not just about lost time, it's lost money. Stacy Honer was headed to Hawaii.
We've got hotel reservations and, non-refundable.
Walker wasn't even waiting for a flight. He needed a MARTA bus. However, the weather also slowed public transportation, and he says rideshare prices skyrocketed.
It's like almost $70, I think, for it from here to where I live.
By the afternoon, lines started moving again. Travelers are just hoping the delays don't last much longer.
And I don't really have time for that. I'm scared of the plane anyway, but we're going to try today, and hopefully we're good. If we're not, then I'm stuck in Atlanta.
Well, some people actually had a chance to enjoy the winter wonderland. Check out this video. Some people took advantage of the snow day at Piedmont Park. You can see people out jogging and walking and enjoying each other and playing with their kids and their pets during that snowy winter wonderland. But that wasn't the only snowfall we experienced in 2025. The second round came a few weeks later, and this time it was a little bit more serious. Less than 2 weeks after the first snowfall made a small impact, the second batch of snow in Atlanta quickly turned into a hazardous black ice situation, creating dangerous driving conditions across the city. The temperatures leading up to this event were much colder, so we saw more snow freeze in many more places. In fact, some people were stuck in almost Snowmageddon-like conditions.
Travelers stranded.
There were probably 100 cars cluttered up on this hill.
Cars abandoned.
I'm walking home.
We stuck
across Metro Atlanta. DeKalb County issued a state of emergency. Still, at the corner of Panola and Miller Grove Road, drivers were trying to inch their way home on these icy roads, some unsuccessfully.
One lady from Connecticut, so I know what to do, and the next thing you know, she was in the gully here.
Gerald Henderson says he did what he could to help. Shari Williams says she underestimated the road conditions too.
I was like, where's the snow? And it came so fast.
She was in Lawrenceville just trying to pick her kids up from daycare, but then things took a scary turn.
I was going down a slight hill and my car started sliding just a little bit. And then I saw, as I got closer to the intersection, I saw cars stalled.
Nearby in Snellville, the interstates were a parking lot, and over in Forsyth, some drivers say they were trapped in their cars for over 15 hours.
I had a toddler with me and my daughter also, she's 9, and we had been already sitting in the car 3 hours, and I didn't have a snack.
Helpless, Williams hopped out of the car.
This is all ice.
And walked home. Cars were sliding, people were slipping. She says it was chaos.
Oh my God.
Henderson is hoping drivers heed the warnings before they're the next one left high and dry.
People need to respect this weather.
In Atlanta, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
Well, in the spring, we had several tornadoes in Georgia. In May, this tornado ripped through a home in Henry County. This storm was unwarned and happened in the middle of the afternoon. It was a day that most of the people there will never forget. that a tornado?
Yep.
A tornado crossed I-75 in Locust Grove Thursday afternoon, leaving a trail of destruction.
My heart sank.
Courtney Bucio lives in the Laurel Creek neighborhood, which sits right next to the interstate.
I happened to look out our sliding glass door and I saw a rotation start forming literally in my backyard, and I just ran for the closet and covered my head and started praying, and I could hear things hitting the house and it was very loud.
Just a few houses away, LaShanta Smoke was working in her home office.
The trash bin, and they're pretty heavy, was airborne, and it was literally rolling, tumbling towards that window. Towards me, flying.
Neighbor Curtis Bryant was feeding his son when he saw his grill blown away.
That's when I stepped outside and I saw a tornado just walk through.
You saw it?
Yeah, and it just went straight through the house, and it was crazy.
He called 911, then ran to this neighbor's home.
Yelling out, anybody home, and he came up and said, hey, what happened? I was like, a tornado came, and your neighbor's house is gone.
Under the rubble next door, they saw someone crawling out.
He was basically saying, I can't find my son and everything. Then after that, me and a few of my other neighbors started trying to look for his son, calling his name.
They found him. The 18-year-old tossed nearly 100 yards into the woods. The tornado sucked him up from the second floor of his home. Bryant stayed with him.
Kept constantly talking to him until the firefighters had got there to take him away.
A day these neighbors will never forget.
Just very blessed to be alive.
Cody Alcorn, 11 Alive News.
A dad and son were injured when that tornado ripped through. The teen was severely injured and he was launched hundreds of feet from his bedroom window. That storm happened in the Laurel Creek neighborhood in Locust Grove. We found out that father and that son duo was actor Trey Chaney from his known roles on The Wire and Saints and Sinners. His 18-year-old son Malachi was thrown 300 feet from their home as the tornado touched down. The powerful winds pulled him right out of the house and into the nearby woods. Neighbors rushed in to help, and thankfully they found him alive.
Man, cherish life as much as you can.
In a moment.
And my wall was coming towards my face, and my body levitated.
Life changed for Trey Chaney.
So I was yelling Malachi's name out. Malachi, where you at? But when I came from under the covers, this is what I seen.
He later learned his son was thrown 300 feet from their home.
My message, hug on your loved ones, because snap of a finger, it could be over with. I'm fortunate to still be alive to be able to talk.
Telling us Malachi is in the ICU with broken ribs and fractures in his face.
We experienced something tragic together that we'll always forever be able to look back on and say we overcame that. My son is he just finished his freshman year at Savannah State University. Sorry, y'all.
Knowing recovery, healing will take time.
He coming along, but the fact that he's in ICU, and I came away with just this scratch on my face, a bump on my head. I wish we could trade places.
Molly Oak, 11 Alive News.
The National Weather Service confirmed that it was an EF1 tornado. Now, actor Trey Chaney and his son Malachi are working on a documentary about that life-changing day. According to Deadline, the documentary is called Reborn by the Storm, and it focuses on their ordeal in the aftermath of the tornado. According to that report, they plan to start screening for the film next May, which will mark 1 year since the tornado. Another storm in Paulding County injured a young girl at the Paulding Meadows Arts and Crafts Festival this summer. High winds during a severe thunderstorm caused a tree limb to fall on her. She survived as well, but had a long road of recovery ahead of her.
Claudia Bacon's uncle tells me doctors had to sedate her due to the pain and put a breathing tube in her. But today there have been some promising signs.
Between the festival booths at Paulding Meadows Arts and Crafts Festival, a reminder of nature's force. The falling tree limbs during Saturday's storm seriously injuring 12-year-old Claudia Bacon, sending her to the hospital.
My sister called me just absolutely crying. And, that's a phone call you never want to get. You don't know what's going on.
H.J. Coran says his niece was getting lemonade with her friend when the friend describes hearing a big crack. Coran says a dead tree limb fell directly onto Claudia's head, knocking her to the ground. Butter Garnto heard that tree crack too. He was running a Bible booth at the festival.
I mean, we were just maybe 25 yards from where that tree fell.
He says people rushed to lift the limb off Claudia.
So really, some people stood around just in shock, and then the rest were trying to help any way that they could.
Claudia was rushed to the hospital after 2 fractures in her skull, broken ribs, and the loss of a lot of blood.
Her mother told me I won't be leaving her side until she opens her eyes and says, Mama. And she's been very strong through this. You can imagine what this is like for them. We are a family of faith.
When the limb fell,
well, I just started praying, asking God that he would protect her and have his hand over her.
Those prayers are something the family is asking others for, too.
There's no limit to the power of prayer and what it can do.
He says they're encouraged by Claudia's progress Sunday, including moving her toes on command and squeezing her mom's hand.
So we are seeing a lot of good signs. There's still a long way to go.
In Paulding County, Gilad Mohammed, 11 Alive News.
Well, it seems all her family's prayers were heard. Claudia was released from Scottish Rite in October with a fractured skull, bruised lung, and broken rib. She is expected to make a full recovery. Another memorable storm from the 2025 year was the deadly St. Louis tornado. An EF3 tornado tore through the area in May, and it killed at least 5 people. The storm crippled many people in the heart of the city. Some are still cleaning up, and the damage in that storm happened back in May. Many people remember the lack of tornado warnings in the city while the storm was passing through.
As an EF3 tornado tore across St. Louis Friday afternoon, people like Danny Eckenhorst and Maya Grimes say they had no clue what was happening.
There was not a siren that tipped anybody off.
There was no indication, no sirens went off or anything, just, the text message on the text alert on our phones.
According to Mayor Kara Spencer, there's a good explanation for why they never heard the sirens.
There was a failure to sound the tornado alarms.
In fact, at the time the storm hit St. Louis, members of City Emergency Management were a half-mile away from their office at a training.
We knew there was weather coming. We should have been at the button. Okay? And I don't know why that decision was made.
Though recently released audio shows SEMA Commissioner Sarah Russell called dispatch to report a storm warning.
Okay, you got the tornado warning. I think that it said it goes till 2:35. You got the sirens? Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you so much.
Mayor Spencer placed Russell on administrative leave pending an internal investigation into what went wrong.
We cannot move forward without providing accountability, ensuring that we have a robust emergency management system in place to provide confidence in the system that we have.
In the meantime, the fire department has been placed in charge of the storm siren system.
I have confidence that our fire department is going to issue the alarm should we need it.
However, during a test Wednesday afternoon, it became clear that not all the sirens even work.
We have systemic failure across so many systems here. And we have a robust team that is unified in fixing this.
We also remember one of the year's most devastating natural disasters. It all started in the overnight hours on July 4th when heavy rains caused the Guadalupe River to rise at a dangerous pace. NBC's Al Roker looks back at that deadly tragedy and some of the heroes who responded.
In Texas Hill Country, many knew a storm was coming, but no one could possibly imagine a disaster like this. In the early morning hours of July 4th, the skies opened up and the deluge began. 4 months worth of rain falling in just a few hours, overwhelming the banks of the Guadalupe River, rising more than 30 feet in Kerrville and fast.
To have a river that's at 3 feet deep go to 32 feet in 1 hour. That's like a tsunami. That's like a dam break. That's almost like a storm surge from a hurricane.
All along the riverbanks, homes, RVs, and campsites full of people asleep, unaware of the nightmare unfolding outside.
It was apocalyptic.
One of the areas hardest hit, Camp Mystic, a girls' summer camp along the river. With power out and phones forbidden under camp rules, survivors say they awoke to cabins already flooding and teenage counselors doing everything they could to get themselves and their young charges to higher ground.
My daughter grabbed onto a tree. One by one, those girls came out and found anything they could cling to.
The water line in what's left of some of those cabins shows just how the floodwaters rose. 25 young campers and 2 of their counselors losing their lives.
Seal would be in 3rd grade right now. But instead, she is lost in the Guadalupe River.
Seal Stewart is one of the 2 flooding victims still missing.
Every phone call, every text, your heart stops because you hope it's news that they've found your child.
More than 130 people died across 6 Texas counties. But amid the utter devastation, the helpers, the heroes.
She was up in this tree, you know, way up there, 35 feet.
Like the Centerpoint volunteer firefighters who rescued this woman left clinging to a tree for hours after her car was washed away. Or the owner of the Hunt store giving away anything people needed, even after their store flooded. So today, Lend a Hand just had to thank them. Open it up, boys. Let's go. Let's see what you got for us. 10,000 shelf-stable meals, $25,000 worth of merchandise. People all across the country supporting Kerr County in the wake of a tragedy that changed so many lives forever. Al Roker, NBC News.
2025 also made 20 years since Hurricane Katrina decimated the Mississippi Gulf Coast and New Orleans, killing 1,400 people. The Category 3 hurricane made landfall in southeast Louisiana on August 29, 2005. And now recovery is still happening 2 decades later.
On the campus of Tulane University,
Napoleon sells it to the U.S.
Katrina is part of a lesson for a group of architecture students who have little, if any, memory of the deadly storm.
It's American history to them, okay? I'm 59. It would be like talking about World War II practically when I was a kid.
But for this city, it's a reality that's reshaped their community and lives.
There seems to be a sense of confusion by these poor people on which way to go.
The unbelievable images on TV screens across the nation that last week of August 2005 are indelibly imprinted on anyone who lived through it.
Get us out of here! We want to get out of here!
We're suffering. We're suffering here.
90-degree heat in the days that followed, with New Orleans humidity, the response at the Superdome vastly underestimating the human toll.
Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
Failures by FEMA and man-made levees compounded the humanitarian disaster in the days following the initial storm as the floodwaters continued to rise.
And you could see the news gets worse and worse and worse.
Back inside the classroom, Tulane University geographer and Associate Dean of Research Richard Campanella shares details and memories of the tragedy with his students.
So imagine that flood wall completely disintegrating. People are living at -4 here. The water is at +14. That's 18 feet of head within the span of 2 blocks.
Campanella says the man-made elements failed 20 years ago, but with work on the drainage and levee systems, New Orleans is now in a much better position to withstand a hurricane like Katrina. While in the 9th Ward, one of the hardest hit neighborhoods, there are reminders parts of this city may never fully recover.
When you go to the areas that suffered a greater exposure to the hazard and had greater social vulnerability, you still see Katrina.
But in the city's central business district and the iconic French Quarter, you can clearly see and feel the essence of this city, saved, many will tell you, by its unique style and culture. The Big Easy back in so many ways as recovery, which has been anything but easy, continues 2 decades later. Jennifer Bjorklund, NBC News.
Hurricane Melissa caused devastating destruction in Jamaica. It also broke records. The storm made landfall as a Category 5 storm. At least 50 people were known to have died across the Caribbean, though the full death toll could have taken days or weeks to determine.
Before the morning sun lifted the fog, pounds and pounds of supplies were stuffed into this airplane bound for Jamaica.
Right now, people are not asking for new roofs and new houses. They're asking for water, and then they're asking for food, in that order.
The upstate-based Jamaica Relief Ministries has been active on the island for more than 20 years. This flight comes more than a week after Hurricane Melissa battered the island with 185-mile-per-hour winds.
It is definitely a crisis, and we want to go down and care for people right where they are, children especially, and their families.
Videos they have shared showed the children's home where they care for children in the care of the state was also damaged.
The roof on the children's home is wood. There were other roofs that flew off, but where everybody sleeps, that roof stayed on there for whatever reason. I think it was the hand of God.
In the upstate, the nonprofit has several thrift stores in Anderson, Abbeville, and Greenwood counties that are now collecting donations.
Bringing canned goods and non-perishable items and things like diapers, baby formula, wipes, water bottles, and bringing that to the store. And then we are going to be filling a shipping container with those items.
JRM says all proceeds from the stores directly go to supporting the mission. The executive director says he will be in Jamaica for the foreseeable future to help people recover.
Nobody chose it and you can't unchoose it. And so just out of the goodness of our hearts, like humanity wants to help people.
As you can see, 2025 was a year for the record books. We have another 365 days ahead. Make some plans and prepare your family for the natural disasters that could be waiting for us as we press on. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss, and I will see you next week.